Thank you very much. We will return to that shortly. If I could take Denmark, please.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to thank Professor John Ruggie for being here with us and giving us this presentation. I'm taking the floor because the Danish Institute for Human Rights is chairing the ICC Working Group on Business and Human Rights, and I would like to therefore thank you to contribute to our work as National Human Rights Institution. And I also want to recognize the fact that you have shown such great appreciation and understanding of our mandates, because we are often misunderstood around the world, and I think that you are quite rightly understood a lot of the things that we can do when we interpret our various local implementations of the Paris Principles in our different jurisdictions. So I would just say one thing that I think we might reflect upon, and which I might also pose to you as a question. When we're talking about remedies, or the third pillar of your framework, it might be a concern that the individual remedies will not sufficiently clearly address the overall issues in cases of systematic flaws in the policy level or the regulatory level or the implementation of human rights in a given state. And I think you reflected on it, on the possibility that we could scrutinize situations and make advice to governments, etc. But how can we develop and how can we make sure that the monitoring and evaluation of systematic violations of human rights are addressed systematically at the regulatory and policy level, so that we do not leave victims on their own to go to court or to other individual conflict resolution mechanisms.
Thank you, and we'll take a final comment from the delegate from the Republic of Nicaragua.
Gracias. Primero felicitar.
Many thanks. First of all, I would like to congratulate John Ruggie for his marvelous speech.
Yo entiendo de que los ombudsman
I understand that the ombudsman
con entusiasmo
work with great enthusiasm with a view to preventing companies from violating human rights, but I would like to refer to two situations. On the one hand, companies need to act in an environmentally friendly way, and on the other hand, they should pay a fair wage to their employees. But that should also be governed by the labour codes in different countries. I'm not so worried if a mining company does this or that in a given place, because this is determined by the contract it has signed with the state in many cases. The key concern for us is when the companies replace the state's role and, for example, own the water itself. In certain countries, the water is not a public good anymore. It has been sold. We need water to drink. It is the most important thing that human beings need to survive, especially in the third world. So how can companies sell water, and how do we square this with the human right to have a water supply? How can it be that elderly people have to rely on private companies for their pensions, and how is this squared with the right to a decent living in one's old age, in one's retirement? We are very concerned with these issues in Latin America, and I could give you a long list of other rights, human rights, basic human rights, such as the right to health.
Si no tiene plata para comprarle salud a una empresa,
enough money to buy private health insurance, you die.
Porque los empresarios convertidos en gobernantes se les ocurrió que la salud debía ser una empresa y no un servicio público.
Is the way to go rather than
¿Cómo podemos hablar ahora de derechos humanos
y
empresas de salud
in the field
un
of
derecho que
health
nunca
when
debió haber salido o
health
debieron
has
haber
been
coexistido.
privatised.
Es decir, yo tengo esa preocupación.
This is a
Yo creo
major
que
concern
nosotros, como
for me,
procuradores de derechos
and
humanos del
I
mundo,
think as
tenemos
people
que
who are in
entrarle en
favour of
serio a este
human
tema,
rights across the
y a
world
eso hemos venido,
need to work
y yo quisiera
seriously
que
on
todos
these
nos
issues. That's
oigamos
why I'm here,
con sumo interés,
and
que todos
I
vengamos con
think that
nuestras mentes
we
abiertas
all need
para
to
sacar lo
keep
mejor
open minds
de este
here
empeño,
to
y
try
sobre
and
todo en
improve
un
our performance in
país
these
tan lindo como
areas.
Escocia.
And it is a great pleasure to be in a beautiful country like Scotland in order to do this. Many thanks for
Thank you for those three comments and points, and I will now ask Professor Ruggie if he would care to comment on them, either from your seat, Professor, or if you care, it's entirely up to you, sir.
Prefer to look at me.
I know how you feel.
I'll be quick. Not keep you from your coffee break. Very, very quickly. To the first question, and I think it's an excellent one. You may have heard me say before that a company doing good things in one area doesn't offset its responsibility to respect rights. There are no carbon offsets in human rights. Right? There may be in the environment, but there are no carbon offsets equivalent in human rights. So building clinics or writing a check to a local activity is not a substitute and cannot be cited as fulfilling the responsibility to respect rights. Secondly, the question of individual remedy versus systemic change. The framework is intentionally quite comprehensive in this regard. And the fact that one sub-element provides for individual remedy doesn't mean that all remedy has to be at the individual level. It is 2/3 of the framework basically deal with preventative matters, and 1/3 deals with remedy. And the remedy part itself is divided into judicial and non-judicial, and it's state-based non-judicial and company-level non-judicial. So the element of individual remedy that's associated with companies is just a small subset of a totality, and the framework itself is a fairly comprehensive and is intended to be seen as a set of complementary approaches that add up to a better system of managing business and human rights challenges. Finally, with regard to the last question, you know, there was a fundamental, I'm not sure, where is Nicaragua? I want to look in the right direction. Where are you? Ah, there you are. Okay, hi. There was a fundamental misunderstanding in the 1990s about what privatization should mean. States went about merrily, often at the recommendation of international financial institutions, to privatize what used to be public services. And they thought that by doing that, they also outsourced their own state obligations, but it doesn't work that way. States undertake obligations under international human rights treaties for the right to water, for the right to health, for civil and political liberties, whether it's of prisoners or anyone else. You can outsource a prison, the service delivered, you can outsource running of prisons, but you don't outsource the state obligation to respect the rights of prisoners. You can outsource the service of water delivery, but as a state, you don't outsource the obligation to the right of water. Some states thought that they could, but they were wrong. And what the problem was that very bad contracts were written, in part because some companies persuaded states that they could deliver more services for less, and it didn't happen. If you have to build more miles of pipes, it adds to costs, and poor contracts were written. But it wasn't only companies that were fooling states, it was also states that were fooling their own people. And I think we need to be very careful to remember that. Outsourcing services does not outsource obligations on the part of states. The obligation stays with the state. And if it requires a subsidy to service poor people, then that's what's required. What the specific mechanism will be to fulfill the state obligation will vary on whatever the circumstances are, but the obligations remain with the state. and they have to be reflected in the agreement that states reach with private sector actors on privatizing public services. Thank you.